Welcome to the Kit Car History File series, where we'll be going through the industry's past. We'll be visiting old marks of long ago, some modern ones, some mostly older stuff. A lot of archive information with photographs and information on the cars they made, the people involved, and what happened to them. Hello and welcome to the TKC Mag TotalKitCar.com YouTube channel. My name's Steve Hull and I'm the editor of TKC Mag and TotalKitCar.com, and I would like to welcome you to this new series we're grandly calling Total Kit Car History File series, where we will, as the name suggests, look back in time at some of the great, some of the good, some of the run-of-the-mill and some of the terrible kit car projects and manufacturers that have traded over the last, nearly 75 years of kit cars in the UK. I do warmly welcome you. Thank you for listening. If you've just picked up on our channel, thank you very much, and say welcome. But and of course, you could be listening anywhere in the world. So, regardless of where you are, I hope you'll spend the next 10-15 minutes. As I describe, we kick off with part one, which we're going to be looking today at the marvellous Atlantis, which might need some explaining to newcomers to the kit car game, or if you've been around for a while, it won't need an introduction. But I have to work on the basis that we're talking to people that won't be aware. So let's look back and go through these things together. The Atlantis wasn't a replica. It was very much a 30s exotic, shall we say, a Gatsby style car, but it wasn't a replica. It was the brainchild of a nice bloke called Michael Booth from Wymondham in Norfolk. Now, I've seen Michael in various other publications over the years described variously as a radio engineer, a TV repairman, and various other things of that type. Now, I can't honestly remember exactly, forgive me, but it is a long time ago. We're talking over 40 years ago. And I haven't got contact details for Michael, so I'm not able to confirm it, which I guess is a little bit of a slip, because it would be, I do like to be as accurate as I can be, but forgive me, as I'm going to call him an electronics engineer. I think that might be a bit of a cop-out, but it will be a coverall, and it sort of is descriptive. But anyway, Michael was also a very keen classic Mini fan, liked his vintage classic motorcycles, and had a liking for this type of car from the 30s. So, as I said, it wasn't a replica, but it was very much inspired by one of the Delage Roadsters of the 30s. In particular, one of the Italian coach builder, Figoni and Falaschi, please excuse if I've got that pronunciation incorrect, one of their bodies that they did for Delage. So it took its inspiration from that. And again, forgive me for this, because I'm new to this. I first sort of real go at voiceovers, and there'll be plenty of ums, plenty of ahs, plenty of repeated words, and I don't really. If you like, you could start a little bingo game of how many times I say probably and an ah, and definitely and maybe, and repeat myself. So forgive me, but at least I am having a go. But anyway, back to the Atlantis. Michael first showed the car. He'd been working on it as a kind of a leisure project. I think there's the first or 15th of them in his garage at home, and he took it to the Peterborough Kit Car Show of July 1982, just to have a gauge of a reaction and response, really. And it certainly it certainly brought some reaction, that's for sure. Point of fact is, though, that it probably wasn't the longest kit car to see the light of day. Of course, there's been various one-off and specials. One built on a coach called Boudica, which was a very memorable car. Terry Pine built that, lovely chap. So that was obviously very long. But and of course, Fleur de Lis built some kit vans back in the mid 80s too. Some of them were quite whoppers, and other people building vintage coaches and charabancs and stuff. But when we're talking cars, even though it was way over 19 feet long, it probably wasn't the longest. I think that accolade, if that's the correct term, belongs to a chap called Nick Durow, Durow, who was around at about the same time as Michael Booth, and he had some wild looking and huge 30s inspired cars under the Durow banner, the eponymous Durow banner. But anyway, back to the Atlantis once again. I do get sidetracked. It was based on XJ6 mechanicals, Series 2, Series 3. Even by then, I think in the 80s, I think it was S1s were getting quite scarce. So, but anything like that, and Michael deliberately used everything he could from the XJ. So he used brakes, he used suspension, he used the transmission, and in particular, he specified the 4.2 litre XK engine, straight six. As he said, you could use a 2.8 or a 3.4, but really and truly for a car of the size of the Atlantis, it needed to be the beefier version, and it gave a little bit more oomph, and we all need a bit of oomph in our life, so that's quite understandable. He was suitably encouraged at Peterborough, I think. Well, obviously he was, because he then launched it in as a commercial kit proposition at the National Kit Car Motor Show at Stoneleigh in May 1983, and he met with an incredible response. He was never mistaken in thinking that he'd sell one or two a month of the kit. I mean, he was happy to do ones and twos, and also he was unusual in as much as for that time he was quite prepared to build turnkeys. And at launch, and I did actually find the notes relating to this piece of the story, which amazed me. Found the original notebooks, or part of them. He was offering fully built examples from £39,000, which, thanks to the wonders of the Money Sorter website, tells me that is equivalent these days, allowing for inflation, to £92,000. So it was a serious car. It was a serious offering. 39,000 is still a chunk of money today, but back in 1983, it was a hefty. It was real supercar prices, I would think, equivalent to. He also offered kits, obviously, and I think he took a couple of sales away from Stoneleigh, or enough interest that led to some sales, which pleased him. He soon appointed a build agent, a nice chap called Tony Holmes, who I've known for many years. Lost track of him in recent years, so I hope he's doing okay. I'm not sure what he's doing, but I hope he's doing well. And Tony, wow, he knew how to build a very, very nice car. His company traded in Uckfield, in East Sussex, not far from TKC Mag Towers, actually. And it was called Classic Specials, and he built cars for people, built kit cars for people. And as an agent for Michael Booth at Atlantis Motor Company, he built at least one, possibly two, examples of the Atlantis. The first one was a stunner, and Michael used it for various promotional activities, as he would, as did Tony. Back in those days, there weren't, not everyone, in fact very few kit car manufacturers were offering turnkey cars, because they went by the definition of the name, the kit car. So therefore they saw it that they supplied the kits, the customer should build them. As a result of that, there was a lot of build companies, kit car build companies, set up around the UK. Some acted as agents for one or more kit car manufacturers, whereas some were just generic. So therefore, if you had whatever you had, whichever you wanted built, you would just take it to them, or get the kit car manufacturer to deliver the kit directly to them, and they would build the car to your specification. Obviously died out a little bit nowadays, because most manufacturers will offer a turnkey car, so that kind of covers that. But Tony's Classic Specials built all sorts. He was agent for Atlantis, and I think he was agent for Pilgrim as well, agent for Pilgrim cars as well. He, talking of Pilgrim, he scrolling forward many years, he was Pilgrim's workshop manager for several years, and in fact, moving forward again, he owned the company for about 3 years. But since then, I don't know what's happened to Tony, so I hope he's well. But a very, very good guy, and a really, really fine builder of a car. I worked for a magazine back in the mid-80s, cut my kit car teeth, in fact, on a magazine called Kit Cars and Specials, which some people like me will look back on fondly. Very important to me in my formative years, that mag. And we sponsored the National Kit Car Motor Show back then. And I seem to remember that the showground was very much a showground for agricultural purposes, hence the name. But there was no Swish New Halls then. There were no farm shops. There were no fancy chocolate shops, sweet shops on site. It was purely an agricultural centre. And so therefore the exhibition area were the cowsheds. That was it. And around about that time, about 85, 86, the showground built what was then a very swish foyer area, meeting area, very, very swish, and it effectively stitched the two cowshed blocks together to make a run all the way along the little lane there. Our sponsors, we were allowed to use that area as our stand. Well, I say stand, it was a flat area, a round area, penned in by straw bales, but it was quite effective, even though it was a bit hoedowny, but it was quite effective. So, and I was tasked, as one of my jobs, I was tasked with getting some decent cars, as the publisher said, to represent, well, our new stand. So we had the Shapecraft. I managed to get a very nice customer built, and a car that had appeared in a recent issue of the magazine, an NGTA. We had an ONC Sprint, and we had the much missed late John Raffo. God bless his soul. What a lovely chap. And he at that time had just launched his Raffo 11, and so that was taking pride of place. And I remember John being so happy that we'd invited him. It was quite touching. He paid us back with what remains the finest pasta I've ever tasted in my life, particularly lasagna, actually. I think it was lasagna, and he did some cannelloni as well, but he cooked it on our stand, which was fantastic, because he was a mean cook and restaurateur by day. That was brilliant. A very good memory. But so to get the Atlantis on, we had to hastily rearrange some of the straw bales and nick about another 4 or 5 feet just to allow people to walk around the car without sort of falling over it or it being a mobile barrier. But it went down well, and Michael was there to field inquiries for the weekend, and I think he might have even taken an order from that weekend. And I think at that time as well, again, Kit Cars and Specials is right there. The late Dave Bradley of the 750 Motor Club came up with an idea for kit car racing. Indeed, the Kit Car Challenge, as it was then, and we were sponsored the Kit Cars and Specials Kit Car Challenge, which was quite an experience. And as a younger member of staff back then, one of my colleagues our job was to represent the magazine and tell people a little bit more about kit cars at various race meetings that the series went to, or the challenge went to. And I think it was quite notable for people, because they didn't just turn up to see the kit car racing. Most of them didn't know what a kit car was. So it did raise eyes and eyebrows and stuff when they saw such an eclectic mix of kit cars going out onto the grid. One of which a chap had approached Michael Booth at that Stoneleigh show where he exhibited on our stand, with a view to using one as a race car, which sounds a bit far-fetched, but is absolutely 100% true. The man's name was Chris Godkin. He was, if I'm not mistaken, a helicopter pilot, all-round good bloke, and a collector and an enthusiast for unusual cars. And he liked the idea of racing in the fledgling Kit Car Challenge, and he thought of nothing could be better than racing an Atlantis. He actually ordered a convertible, which Michael Booth called the Atlantis Alcaeus, forgive the iffy pronunciation, who I think was an ancient Greek poet. Although I remember the car, that name was dropped after a while and it was just referred to as the Atlantis convertible. Chris's car was lower. It was obviously stripped out for racing. And he didn't use an Jaguar XK engine. He instead chose a monster Chevy V8 big block unit, which was a monster and sounded like a monster. And a couple of photos to accompany this audio are of Chris racing his car in period. One of them, I think, the side-on view, I didn't take that personally, but I think that was taken at Alton Park. And the one where he's crossed up, or he would say very sideways, attacking the corner, was taken by me, actually, at Mallory Park. The sight of him piling into the hairpin was something I've never forgotten. Incredible. Sight and sound. That photo was taken, I was on the infield. I think it was on the infield at Gerrard's. And he was, well, as we see, very enthusiastically entering Gerrard's. What I like about that photo is that you can just spot behind Chris, just to the left, what looks like, and I'm pretty certain it was a UVA Fugitive, another car that you would never normally expect to see on a racetrack. In that race too, there would have been a JBA, there would have been a Dutton Rico, there would have been all sorts. It was great. And people loved it. So anyway, Chris campaigned that car for a couple of years at least, in a couple of seasons, and went down and did quite well. I don't know if he ever won a race, but he certainly was right up there. And once a punter had seen an Atlantis convertible racing, then they never really forgot it, and they went home happy with fond memories, I think. By sort of mid-80s, later 80s, 87, 88, and it had run out of puff, the project, really. And Michael had built, various figures have been bandied about, but I think it was about 15. I'm almost certain I've been told it was 14, but it's around about that figure. And the project was sold after a year or two. Pretty certain Arthur Wolstenholme of Ronart Cars bought the rights in the project, though he didn't do much with them, I don't think. I think Arthur was busy with Ronart business, another prominent manufacturer of the day, another very nice man too. And the car was lovely, of course, the Ronart. And I believe, again, this is again faded memory, I think Michael bought the moulds and rights back. He kept them then for many years. And only in the last 5 or 6 years, maybe a little bit longer, has he sold them finally. And that man, Tony Holmes, comes back into the picture. They are the last heard of residing with Tony. That may or may not be right, may not be true still. They might have moved on or whatever. But if you know, you could let us know, please. If Tony's listening, Tony, you know how to get hold of me. It'd be nice to talk to you. So there we have it, really. The story of a wonderful car, a real child of its time, the mighty Atlantis. Absolutely fantastic car. Really, really liked it. Liked everything about it. There was quips from the camp comedians that it looked like the Anthill Mob's car from Wacky Races. Tony, I think if Michael had a pound every time he'd been told or heard that quip, he would have been a very, very rich man. But it was a lovely car to drive. It drove like a very long, with a Jaguar with a bit of a low roof. It was brilliant. Never got a chance to sample a convertible. I believe Chris's convertible may have been the only one, although something's telling me that there may have been a second one. Although I'm not certain about that, but certainly the bulk of them were the fixed head original one. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little audio. We plan on bringing these, dropping these every couple of weeks. people said you should be using your archive more, so we've listened, and we've done just that. We've got an extensive archive. We thought we'd make a bit more use of it, entertaining and informing, and just spending a bit of time and having a little listen while I have a biscuit and a cup of tea to a bit of kit car history. As I said, good, bad and indifferent will feature here. Please forgive once again a bit of waffle, bit of umming, bit of ahhing, bit of repetitive wordage. I'm sure you could start a little bingo game of words I've repeated on numerous occasions here, but I will get better, and I'll endeavour to try to get better. But please forgive me. But if you've got this far, there's maybe a chance that you could have quite enjoyed this ramble, and I hope that's the case. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, if you'd be so kind, may I ask you to subscribe. It won't cost you a single penny piece. And if you hit the notifications button there, you'll see the word all. And if you click that, that means you will be literally notified every time we drop a new video onto YouTube on the channel. And I don't really know much about how this witchcraft works, and I don't really want to, if truth be told. But I am informed that if you also hit that thumbs up button, that will really help the channel. It will make our algorithm, I don't know what the word is for that, but it will make that better, and it will pop up in more people's feeds, and that's what it's all about. Incidentally, so every month, usually around the 1st of each month, our video editor Neil Rinnington will continue to publish one of Neil's feature videos each month. But there's a bit of fun, bit of entertainment, bit of information, bit of promoting the industry's colourful past, really. Certainly something I've tried to do for over 30 years. We'll be doing one of these at least every 2 weeks, and we'll build up quite a nice little series, I think. Yeah, and talking of Neil, he's got his own channel, Enwin Motors, which is, you'll find him on YouTube if you search Enwin, ENWIN Motors. He'll be doing some of these history files as well under his own banner. Some will be the ones you'll hear here. Others will be standalone for his channel. So please, if you've got 5 minutes, head on over to Neil's channel and give him a like and a subscribe, please. But once again, thank you so much for listening. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I look forward to part 2. If you like this one, you're going to love that one. Thank you very much, and have a good day wherever you are. Thank you very much.